This game is from the Berkeley Store Championship that happened last Sunday. It's that Sunday, February the 9th. And we have Paul on the left and Peter on the right. Paul's doing classic NBN. We got Noise on the right. So got hedge fund off the start, always good to see, and then install some ice. Paul placed quite well in the tournament. He was third place, I believe, fourth place, and Peter was eighth. We had 25 people in the tournament, so it was quite big. It was probably the biggest we've had at Berkeley. So we got a sure gamble start and running right into an ice wall, forcing him to res some stuff, and then run an R&D, which reses a Caduceus, which I always hate to see as the runner against NBN making news because those two credits go a long way with Caduceus. So they're just trying to decide how strong to make this. Looks like the first subroutine fires off, giving Paul 3. I always try and prevent that first one from firing off. You don't want them to get a free res. But I tend to focus on denying the corp those credits. So he puts down Armitage. He does his last click. Corp draws. I played against Paul's deck a couple weeks before. It's a very solid NBN deck. Run some sweeps weeks. I think he has some RSVP in there. A lot of the new stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if that turned out to be our friend AstroScript. A note about the camera, this is recorded off my iPad, and I was just sort of holding it above them, so that's why it's kind of moving around a bit, and why at times it'll move forward as people move behind me. So he's getting the Jin out. I would have been very concerned about that possible AstroScript scoring, so maybe he's going to try and use that Parasite to just score out, to get through that server, but seems unlikely. Or maybe he's just letting them have the AstroScript, because it's only an AstroScript, right? It's only the best agenda in the game, probably. Okay, so I think that was 2 clicks with the Jin install and the Parasite. The camera's moving around a bit. It's like Paul only has 1 card in hand at this point. Taking some credits off Armitage, yeah, installing the Parasite. And he does forget the mill here, but that's rectified in a little bit once the Parasite kills that ice wall. They got a draw, mandatory draw. The mandatory draw is really great in Netrunner. It really forces the corp to change up their strategy. They can't just sit around and build up money, build up econ, work on assets. They're getting agendas in their hand, they're getting new cards. It's all very fluid, everything's changing. And it gives the runner a new target. If HQ was empty before, now there's a new card and the game has changed. So the mandatory draw really does a lot for Netrunner. It's not just a sort of free draw for the corp. Of course, that draw could be a liability for the corp. So let's say he's installing over HQ because that Parasite is going to chew up the ice wall. And here's where he's going to mill the card. They resolved this sort of strangely. I would have just milled the top card of R&D, but they decided to mill the card that he drew, and then he drew the card he would have drawn. Yeah. Which probably benefited Paul because he knew what he drew and he knew it wasn't an agenda, but so that's fine. When you make a mistake in your play, as the runner did here, by not reminding the corp to mill a card, it's always good to favor whatever benefits the other player because it was your mistake. And you want to keep the game friendly so that other mistakes are resolved in a friendly way, and it just helps things go smoothly. Okay, here we go. Another Parasite, another mill. And Noise hasn't been too popular recently because of our friend Jackson Howard, but I'm seeing it more and more. I think people are refocusing on Noise and using him more aggressively, not just the old, there's where the camera, sorry about that, not the old kind of personal workshop solitaire Noise, and he scores out an AstroScript, but a more aggressive Noise where you're running a lot and making use of Parasites more, and just I see Noise with imps a lot now, just really focusing on kind of the core Anarch tenet of just tearing everything down. They use a Jin to get out a data sucker. That's the alternate art data sucker, which a lot of these players in the Bay Area, I see them at a lot of the same, a lot of tournaments, and they tend to win these alternate art cards. You see them a lot around here. There's another mill. No Jackson Howard out now, so he might snipe an agenda that way. So this is good. He's checking the card he milled, might get lucky. It's like an R&D access, and then he also gets a data sucker token, which he probably really needs. So he's going to be able to bust through that Caduceus on his next turn. His Parasite get a token, then he has a data sucker token. So I'm curious if we'll see any keyhole shenanigans soon, as that card was available at this tournament. I didn't play myself in this tournament. There was 25 people, so I focused on running it. Really great turnout, great crowd. We have a very competitive group of players here in the Bay Area. I see the same group in almost every tournament, and they tend to always be in the top 8. Both these players are top 8 players pretty consistently. So he installs over the Caduceus. He should have, well, I don't know what his plan is, but maybe he has an end the run in front of him. He's going to clear viruses after, but I probably would have just overwritten that Caduceus, save the install money. Maybe that's what he's deciding right now. I got another install. I'm taking a credit. So with all NBN's 3 advancement agendas, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a San, trying to bait a run into there where he won't be able to trash it. Yeah, that Caduceus is really close to being dead. The Parasite, I was talking to a friend the other day, is one of the better cards in the game. There's not many ways to just flat out destroy an ice, and just so happens that Data Sucker is also one of the better cards in the game, and they both work together really well. So those aren't going away anytime soon. He's got a Res Draco. Look like he kept it at 0 strength, and I think there's some tracing going on here. I didn't catch the exact bids. The tracing mechanic in Netrunner is really smart as well. It allows for sort of comebacks in that if one player is very motivated to win the trace, and often the Corp, this is the way it works out, where the Corp is going to spend a lot of money to ensure that they land a tag on you or whatever, and as the runner, that gives you an advantage. You might get a tag, which could lead to very bad things, but at the same time, they've probably just spent a lot of money to land that tag, and that gives you some openings. It's not just a tag, too. There's other tracing effects, like TMI, just to res that ice as an example, which I was also seeing a lot of TMI recently. What is that? So it's like a Beal. So we're at 4-0 here on the game. With an Astroscript token, that means another Astroscript Beal is a score out of hand, and then a Breaking News will win it. So the runner here really needs to focus on some productive runs. Here we go. So he just installed the Parasite off of that clone chip, which killed the 0 strength Draco, milled a card, and now he is accessing, he forgot to pay the 2 money, so now he's accessing a card off R&D. Looks like a Beanstalk. So that was a productive run. That was good. Got Data Sucker token. Yes, one quick website. Taking some money. Yeah, R&D's open, so even if Paul can score here, he has a big liability there with R&D being open, so he might forego scoring out just to ice up R&D, as the runner here is kind of running out of tricks. You can only use so many Parasites in a row. So it looks like he's drawn his first, I think that was his first click, yeah, so he's icing up R&D, getting some more money. It's a solid turn right there. So a lot of times it's tempting to score out something you have in hand as NBN, but you gotta think of a little bit long term, even if you're about to win the game. Because yeah, just recently I was at 5 points and the runner came in on R&D a couple of clicks in a row with an R&D interface and took 3 agendas off of those 4 cards and won the game. So yeah, you can never let your guard down. It's sometimes worth it to kind of take a turn to build back up, even if you have a scoring opportunity. And that's what Netrunner high level play is about, is knowing that it's not always worth it to play a hedge fund, and it's not always worth it to get money if you don't need money, and to score if there's other priorities. All right, yeah, so it gets another Astro script. This is a classic NBN here. This is why they're so strong right now. Just he's not even using Sand Sands. I'm sure he's got them, but yeah, they don't have fantastic ice, but there's a lot of ice that is really low influence that is great to bring into NBN. I use Eli a lot myself. I've been using Chimera myself a lot recently too, just to score out an early Astro script. We've got a Mimic down. That'll negate Caduceus pretty good. Running HQ, trying to. This is always late game with NBN. Is you got a lot of HQ runs right in a row to try and snatch an agenda before they score it. So the Sand. Paul's not resin. He either can't res dice, or likely he just doesn't have the agenda in hand. Okay, got the mandatory draw here. Got a guy in the background is asking me if creation control is a good way to start playing the game, and I recommended just sticking with the core set. I don't like those suggested decks in creation control, mostly because I had a really bad time with Inti. There we go, yeah. Okay, so we've got an install on that server. This could be a 4 advancement, like, okay, he's just going in. A lot of the corporation play, when you're actually scoring out agendas, is looking for windows. You're looking for, you never for sure can guarantee you will, have a secure server. It's not what the game's about. It's about just judging the probability. How probable is it the runner can get in here? How probable is it he will want to get in here? Maybe R&D just looks like a better target to him. I bet this is the Sand down there that he drew into earlier. He's just trying to waste some of the runner's time and money while he draws into his agenda. It only really works here if you res ice. Otherwise, he doesn't care about the Sand because you have an Astro script token. The only way that Sand is going to come into play is if Corp gets a lot of money and draws into like a character assassination. I have a Beal or a Biotic Labor in my deck right now, which I keep trying to score my single priority rec on a Sand with the Biotic Labor. Is that enough? Maybe I need an Astro script token too, but that's the dream play for me. But NBN right now, I think it's a mistake to focus solely on fast advance, which is this is what this deck here is about. He's scored out a Beal without a Beal and an Astro script without any sort of fast advance tricks. You don't need them. You could just there's enough. You just have to rush out agendas early is the trick. You have to be able to keep pressure off of your centrals with cards like Sand City Grid. I like other high trash cost assets like private contracts. Just keep the pressure off your centrals, and have decent ice like an Eli to just slow them down on your centrals, while you can score out some early Astro scripts and Beals behind some decent end run ice, like I'll often do. I had a RSVP into a pop-up windows. That type of thing is pretty hilarious, but there's just lots of options. Got another mill here. Yeah, so I guess the idea is just you don't need to focus entirely on fast advance. A blend of the two is really, really great. Okay, so the Parasite kills another piece of ice, kills a wall static, and another Access, and man, his Accesses does not have a lot of luck right now. I don't think he's milled an agenda or Access from R&D. We have a Sand down there in the remote. There's a couple of cards drawn there. So now he's probably out of scoring range here for this turn, but that does put more pressure on the runner to get into HQ. Sweeps weak. So like, what is that? 4 cards in hands and you get 3 money. NBN, the more I play them, I find that they're very sensitive to the number of credits you have. I don't know exactly why that is, but you're just always. I'm always like when I'm rezzing ice and scoring out, I always get down to 0 credits. Like I spend my credits very efficiently, which I think is why they have Shipment from Sand. I have 3 of those in my deck, and I absolutely love that card because I don't mind. You know, I'll if they're siphoning me or whatever, I could res my Sand and kind of counter their siphon and score out an Astro Script next turn, and it just you don't have money, which is bad, but basically you'll get some money and then get a burst of money with something like Private Contrast or Sweet Week, and that puts you back in the game pretty quickly. Okay, keeps access. Yeah, he's just getting through HQ here, just desperately looking for that agenda. Thanks, Paul. Still repeated here. The runner has not scored an agenda yet. You know, I can't really point out anything specific he's done wrong this game necessarily. I guess he didn't pressure those remotes early, but at the same time, it looked like he probably didn't have the breakers he thought he needed in order to do that. But we still don't know what those ice are, and a run down there when that Astro Script was there would have been worth it just to kind of check what ice are there at the very least. He could have gotten that Beal on a following turn more easily at least. Yeah, but other than that, I think Peter's played really well. Paul is a very good NDN player, and yeah, I didn't see any major errors in this game. I guess I shouldn't be spoiling, but it looks like Paul's gonna win. If I were a betting man, I would put my money on Paul with 2 Astro Scripts, Astro Script token, and a Beal. That's pretty solid. So he's playing Making News. The World Is Yours is really nice just because you can include less agenda cards. And so my World Is Yours deck right now has 3 Beal, 3 Astros, 3 Breaking News, and 1 Priority Rec, and that's all of my agendas. And so Paul has to include a few character assassinations likely in this deck to fill out the number of agendas. He probably also does not have any 3-pointers. I have that Priority Rec in there, which is a huge liability, but I find it quite exciting to play with, knowing that any R&D access could just be 3 points. And I very rarely do I score out the Priority Rec, but I sometimes do, and it's 3 points, and that's nice. But I mostly just try and protect it. I'm going to install into that remote. Sand there, so he has plenty of money. I'm kind of surprised he's not just scoring it out. He plays an install, and then yeah, okay, so, yeah. If it was a 4 advancement, he'd be able to score it out because he has the Astro token. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. He's getting some draws. He could afford to lose. I mean, maybe he does have a 3-pointer in his deck. He could afford to lose it, especially if he drew into a 2-pointer in one of those later draws. But yeah, I don't quite know what's going on there. It looks like the runner's not too concerned. Now he's going to try and use Nerve Agent to bomb HQ, and someone cut in front of the camera there. I think this is too little too late with the Nerve Agent, however. But we'll see. He's getting through that Draco for 1. And is that Liberated accounts he has installed, I believe? So that's giving him a lot of money. Got another mill here. Looks like you got a couple milled cards. Probably worth checking. Yeah, okay, Paul got it. Scored out of Breaking News. That's it. Thanks.